Hello, I'm Lucas, and this is a bit of lit, and I would like to talk about a Star Wars novel that I have read. Hopefully my Kindle will wake up, because of the 3 Kindle Paperwhites I've owned, this is the least functioning one. The other 2 I've given to family and friends. But I read Star Wars, Darth Plagueis by James Luceno. This is my 2nd book by him this year, and 2nd Star Wars book ever. I read Tarkin back in early January when the world made sense and was fun. And now I read Darth Plagueis, which is, I really enjoyed. I like it. For the most part, I like it more than Tarkin. It's more interesting throughout. Tarkin's kind of a slow build. There are great moments too. I like that book too a lot. Anyway, what this book does, in case you're interested, I only started reading Star Wars novels because Rise of Skywalker was so dreadfully bad that I had to find something good in this series. I'm not a major fan of Star Wars just because I found it very annoying when I was a kid that people would always joke, "Luke, I am your father." That thing, mostly because I didn't have a dad. So that was annoying. Anyway, I do like Star Wars now. I don't like the sequels. I like the original trilogy. The prequels, when I think about the ideas in them, I think they're fine. I think they're actually better than the original trilogy. The movie's execution is much worse. But anyway, the 2 books I've read have been fantastic. So let me talk about Darth Plagueis now. We're introduced to him briefly, just in a little scene with Anakin and Senator Palpatine. Or is he Chancellor at that time? I think he's just Senator still. I can't remember. But in Revenge of the Sith, he talks, Anakin's worried about Padme because of a vision he saw. And you know the whole story. Darth Plagueis could protect others from death, but he couldn't protect himself. Ironic. I think he starts with that word. Anyway, what this book does is introduce Darth Plagueis' backstory, who he was the apprentice to, how he came into contact with Darth Sidious, who is Sheev Palpatine, Senator Palpatine, and their relationship, and also builds greatly on Senator Palpatine and all the political machinations he goes throughout his career under the guidance of his master, Darth Plagueis. And it is a wild ride. The characters are pretty one-dimensional in a way. They're just power-hungry Sith Lords. But all the things that they go through make it engaging enough that, they have their worries and their doubts and all that stuff, even though they're sort of surefire and arrogant and all that. There's some depth to them, but mostly they act how you would expect them to act. It's really fun to see how Darth Sidious comes to be when he's just a young schoolboy, 17, and he becomes acquaintances with Darth Plagueis, and is manipulated to go against his father, who he already, how Sheev is manipulated to go against his father at a critical moment in Naboo's political timeline, where they just found a big reserve of plasma that the Republic is greatly interested in, and there's politicians opposing Palpatine's father, by saying, "Oh, we should join the Republic, and we'll get tax cuts and all this stuff, and there'll be jobs, and everything will be great." Promise. But Palpatine's father doesn't want Naboo to be exploited because he knows that the Republic has a history of steamrolling underdeveloped planets that join. And anyway, it's interesting to see how that situation is used to manipulate Palpatine to the dark side. And we see more political machinations throughout that the two Sith Lords go through. And that's just great fun. It's everything you could possibly want to further explain the backstory of these two characters. And we even get to learn more about Count Dooku and his time in the Jedi Council and his fall from there. And we learn about Mace Windu's, or not Mace Windu, Darth Maul's origins, which I find kind of lacking because he's just kind of there. He never really gets any personality to him at all. He shows up, he obeys. Okay, yes, master. Sorry, master. And, you know, it's cool to see his beginnings, but we don't really get a lot of him. And, yeah, it follows this story up through the events of the first movie. Or episode 1, I guess. And, what I really like about it is how Darth Plagueis, he tells Darth Sidious that each Sith has had their own creed, because they all find themselves above good and evil, and they create their own ethics, which he thinks is the greatest thing. But he wants to be the master and have Darth Sidious be the apprentice, so that they can enact the grand plan while he learns how to basically control life and death through the midichlorians, which I give a pass to being in this because they were introduced in the first in episode 1, and they're there, and he does his best to explain how Darth Plagueis, is able to cheat death, essentially. And he wants to do away with the rule of 2, which is to have a master and apprentice. And part of that is by fulfilling his grand plan to restructure and reorganize everything so that the Siths are back in power. And it's not so much to take down the Republic, but to take out the Jedi Council. And that's great fun. And if you're interested in Star Wars and learning more of the backstory and all that stuff, I don't know if this is canon anymore. It came out the year Disney bought Star Wars, so I would think so, but I don't know. Anyway, it's great. The ending is kind of rushed. Like, once they get to the part where the movie episode 1 is in the plot, it just kind of goes quickly and briefly talks about things that happen in the movie. They're not really important to the plot in the book, but they feel kind of there and sort of vacant. And it's like, okay, well, now you're just telling me things I already know, and I don't care. I already know. But it's a good book, so I recommend it, and I will enjoy more Star Wars novels. Thank you. Bye.